Office is really interesting. 94% occupancy, and has a grade A face rent of $62 a metre. This remains one of the best performing office markets in Asia, in the world. It is great. A little bit of that is due to this immaturity. The 2.2 million square metres is not big by any means, but it is really, really strongly performing. And one of the things that I'd like you to note are the metrics here. So what we're seeing, grade A, grade B, grade C, we're still seeing a little bit of growth, even throughout this period. There's some reasons behind that. Office markets are immobile. It's a 3 or 5 year lease that you're signing, and so it's very, very difficult to break and get any noise or read out of that. But still, overall, that's pretty good metrics. We have a moderate amount of supply coming on in the near term. Nothing there that's going to freak us out. It's not going up like Jakarta or any of the other areas of 30, 40, 50% oversupplied at any one time. So, pretty good for the future of office. There has been a little bit of noise. There has been some landlord-tenants discussions and negotiations, and that will always continue. But generally, what we're seeing, renewals at or about market being maintained, and fresh leases are being signed at reasonable levels as well. Vacancy, 5%. It's a disaster. 5% is fantastic. 5% vacancy in any office market is just wonderful. It's the highest it's been in the last 5 years. Really, really good, and very, very strong performance across the board historically. What we're going to look at here is where the pressure is being exerted, how it's happening, and how that's flowing through. So we've looked at the different industries here. Some of those are moving up, some of those are moving down. You can see that finance suffering a little bit, manufacturing surprisingly up, ICT up, real estate up as well. So there's a little bit of mixed reaction through COVID. This one is really interesting. What we're charting here, we're showing when tenants have moved out in the first half, what their reason for moving out is. There's a whole mixed bag there that you normally expect. What I find is very interesting is this one is the shop house reallocation. So bearing in mind that Vietnam has an enormous bias towards small and medium enterprises, then it makes sense. With all these shop houses coming on the market, this is probably your super fund or your retirement fund for any small business. That small business owner should, of course, own that. His business should rent that, and that's his retirement plan. So it's really interesting that we see the shop houses is working very well there. Again, responses to some of the rents, all that sort of normal stuff, 10%, 30%, whatever, that's all continuing on through. So again, having a look at what's going on, GDP, we all know that 2.6% there is one representation of our GDP forecast. Generally, we're in pretty good health. Again, we're back to what's going on after the GFC, what's going to happen now. So again, this is GDP growth. We see the blip a couple of years. In fact, Vietnam fell into the GFC a little bit later than the rest of the world, and so it's a little bit moved on. But we said it's only 1 or 2 years, and we're back out again. And so we have fallen off a cliff a little bit more severely this time around. But generally, property, I'll keep on saying it, is a long-term investment, and with 1 or 2 years,